good to be out here after dealing with some brake issues. Yeah, so I had a brake debacle. I was upgrading to braided lines for a couple of reasons. One, they're just, a little bit more long-term and professional. Another reason was the other lines were on the front side of the gear, which put them in harm's way a little bit more. And the main reason was the feed lines, the old nylon lines, were made a little too short, and they were getting pulled on at full rudder deflection pretty hard, to the point where they were starting to seep just a little bit around the fittings. And I was looking at this going, one of these days I'm going to jam the rudder and one of those lines is going to break off. And so I wanted to redo it. Anyway, it turned into a nightmare. I decided to change the pads while I was in there. It had been a year, and I worked the brakes hard. And it's kind of funny, they were about 20% worn, so they didn't need to be changed. But anyway, the new pads I got were bowed. They were shaped like a U, and I tried to rivet them down anyway. Never could get them to lay flat. Thought maybe they'd work as is, I'll give it a shot. Well, they didn't work right, and I ended up glazing the discs, trying to wear them in. And I think I got some fluid in on everything, and I was having trouble bleeding it because I couldn't get enough pressure to bleed the system. And my parking brake went bad while I was working on all this, and it was just one thing after another. So I had to build a special bleeder, and I had to rebuild the parking brake and get another set of pads. And I bought some other stuff I didn't end up needing, but I was just throwing money and parts at it like crazy until I finally got it all to work right. I'm out here just walking my LZ. I came in over these trees and landed up this hill right along there, and that was pretty good. There's some nice areas down here. Looks like a person could go for a walk in about any direction and see something nice. But anyway, I'm just looking, got a good place to take off. I can come down this hill, come right through where we're at, and of course I'll be airborne long before this, and out over the top of that. And there's just a touch of a breeze to help. But it's never a bad idea to walk it and check it, put everything in your favor. I got a lot of power to work with. If something was to go wrong, the wind does something weird, or you lose partial power or whatever, trying to line everything up to always be in my favor when possible. So this one's nice and easy. It's pretty darn smooth. Really couldn't ask for a better spot, to get in and out of without it being super treacherous like some of the spots I go. They're a little less relaxing, a little more white-knuckled at times. These hills many times. I don't think I've ever been here when it's actually green and nice like this. Somehow this never seems to happen. So it's kind of cool to be here, and it is so pretty out here when it's green. Generally I preferred a little more enclosed areas and trees and rocks and stuff like that, of course. But there's something to be said for these rolling green hills when they're green. They're just beautiful. I got a question for you guys, something to ponder. When it's green out, it's so much nicer, right? Why is that? Is that because the color green is more appealing than brown and yellow? Or is it because what the green represents? It's just something to think about. So after that, I blasted out of there and made another stop or two and some other spots that weren't too bad, and ultimately ended up in a place you guys have probably seen before, and just a really cool spot there. Shot a little drone footage before moving on. Ended up in this other place up real high in the mountains, I think almost 11,000 feet, kind of an old logging road. And from there I was able to walk down and check out this little lake, so that was kind of cool. But then I moved on and actually ended up finding some really cool stuff still to come. This was a pretty amazing spot. I looked at it before and the wind was just really bad down there in the canyon, and it wasn't great this day either, but it was good enough. Let me show you what the landing and takeoff looks like getting in and out of there. Came in pretty fast there with kind of a quartering tailwind, but there's a lot of room here, so I knew I'd be able to get it down and land. And I'd scoped it out a little bit before. It is smooth enough, so it wasn't too bad getting in here. But it's just a crazy spot, and the difference between the two views, one side is just such rugged terrain, looks like you're in the middle of nowhere, and then you flip around behind you and there's the highway. So it's kind of an interesting contrast. So this last spot for the day is one of many Table Mountains in Colorado, and actually it'll be the second Table Mountain that I've landed on, both of which are BLM. The other one I landed on years ago with my other plane. This one I've eyeballed a few times, and I really wanted to land up top. It's got what appears to be a pretty flat top, but when you get in close, it's really rocky, and I just couldn't find a clean line that I felt comfortable with. And there's definitely no going up there to recover the airplane without a helicopter if something goes wrong. Off to the side of the mountain, it kind of steps down and has a sort of a valley coming down the side of the mountain. And it took a few tries to figure out a line to be able to land down there on that spot, but ended up being a really neat place. been wanting to get in this spot for a while. I tried once before, the wind was just not right. It is very high up, and it is a tricky spot. You're coming down that descending terrain, trying to get your speed down, but there's a hell of a view. I mean, that thing in person is a monstrosity, and that is steep. So it's cool. We're up on this big old bluff, but it's got this little cutout valley thing on the side here. All right, so I walked up into the trees here. The direction I was landing, a little further past that, the road ends up here and just comes into a little roundabout here with some campsites that are pretty nice. You know, this area is cool. Out there, you're a little exposed, but in here, you know, you got some cover with the trees and all that kind of stuff. And I could actually taxi my airplane up to probably about 200-300 feet, maybe a little more, 300 feet or so from here. So that wouldn't be the end of the world to, you know, just pack some gear back into here and a person could camp out in here. Real nice place. So, you know, that's cool. That's really cool. It's nice to find more spots like this to camp. It's all BLM. It's accessible, although getting in here real heavy, if the wind's not right, could be real challenging. So I got a bit of a funny dilemma here when I go to take off. This is where I landed. It's slightly uphill. It was into the wind. It was beautiful. Now the wind has basically died down, or almost coming from the other direction. The problem is going up there, which is at the top of a little bit of a hill, and running down here would be good, except puts me into massive rising terrain. Doesn't look like it on video, but that's pretty steep. This airplane would do it. It'll climb through that, but best practices would be to not do something like that. And so looking at my other options, this side of the two track, from here to where there's some bushes and junk, there's some rocks and stuff over there. That's a pretty good section. Doesn't look very far on video, but it is. So I can go up that way and then turn around and then blast, which would be maybe slightly downhill coming this way. And it gives me a lot of room to just clear a little bit of rising terrain and trees, and then everything after that's a drop off. You know, I've talked about this stuff before. Conditions will change after you get somewhere. I've been here for an hour and a half probably, doing a little droning, doing some pictures, and it's absolutely gorgeous out here. It's 65, 70 degrees, no direct sunlight, and no wind, which is beautiful for hanging out and enjoying it. But, you know, now when I go to take off, everything's changed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up here and I'm going to blast this direction. Overall, that's the best choice I have. Gives me plenty of room. Won't be any big deal. This is 10.5, 10.8, something like that. It's pretty high. So, you know, you want to do things right, even with a lot of power. Anyway, as you can see, there is a little bit of weather rolling in. It doesn't show anything on radar being too severe, and I'm not actually worried about it, but I'm just figured, that's my cue to get up and get out of here. I've been here long enough hanging out, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But it's time to move on, see if we happen to see anything else on the way home, or if not, I'll wander home. It's been a good day of exploring. Landed several new places, several old ones, and had a lot of fun. Hope you guys have enjoyed it too. Thanks for coming along, and appreciate it, guys. Thanks for being here. More to come. We got an Idaho trip we're planning coming up here soon. Hopefully there'll be some Utah trips after that in the fall. Can't wait for that. That'll be fun. Awesome out there. And, you know, lots of flying around here in between. Stay tuned. More to come. You guys know the deal. Thanks a lot. See you on the next one.